I want to begin by telling you that when I came in today, I saw a lot of people that I know. And I don't know how they got old, but they did. I still recognize them though, so they got old and I didn't. I say that because the faces brought back such memories. My husband and I married a Morristown boy. And I married him in 1973. It's still working. So look, it's still working. And I thank him first for always accompanying me. I didn't want her to read stuff because here's what it is. If you live long enough, you'll have a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of people and do a lot of things. Okay, that's my resume, okay? You meet a lot of people and you do a lot of things. I want to thank my sisters and my friends for coming out on this cold day, and I especially want to thank President Reyes for being here. Welcome to East Tennessee. Every day is not cold, but today is cold. This is your first winter here. Ooh, you got a lot to look forward to. We have 4 beautiful seasons in East Tennessee, and you're going to enjoy them all. And as Dr. Alpha said, I did go to high school with Gary Chesney, and when he became mayor of Morristown, I went, what? Gary Chesney? But I will tell you this, in 1968 and 69, different times, Gary Chesney was kind to me, okay? He was kind to me. And to all the elected officials who are here today, your presence is important. Showing up means something. We can celebrate it, but our expectation is that the people we elected will also be here to celebrate with us. So I thank you, and I thank you for the announcement that you made. My father-in-law was greatly involved with Morristown College. In fact, my brother and my sister graduated from Morristown College. So I say that because my roots in Morristown are real deep. You know, I don't know how deeper they can be. Then I taught school at Judson S. Hill. Yeah, the original one, okay, the old school. I was there for 4 years. It began my lifetime of advocacy because I worked with the students in Morristown and Hamlin County where there was no place else for them to go. It was the most diverse school in Knox County. In Hamlin County, because we lumped all of our special needs students together. And then, time passed and legislation passed and, we mainstreamed them. And we moved into a new school at Lincoln Heights Learning Center, but we came in around the back. Okay, that was the entrance to our school, but it was so much better than what we had and the opportunities for our students. So again, that was one of my steps in being who I define myself as an advocate. I am first a civil rights advocate and all that that encompasses and all that that means. And then secondly, I am an ardent public school advocate. A public school advocate. I don't know about you, but the Youngs, there were 6 of us, all went to public school. And it was the lifeline, as our captain said, education was the avenue that he traveled. Education was the avenue many of us traveled, Dr. King being an example of that. He was a Morehouse man. And y'all know what they say about Morehouse men, right? You don't? Well, let me tell you. You always can tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. I got people in our family from Morristown as well. So, Dr. Alpha, I know that you gave me 10 minutes, and and there were so many wise and wonderful things that were said, but since I've already prepared this, I'm going to tell it. okay? I'm gonna tell it. I want to speak about advocacy through kindness. Advocacy through kindness, and what Dr. King what his call to action would be. So to the task force, I celebrate with you 19 years. I also celebrate the people who are supporting you, and I love what you call them, dream makers, change agents, peace builders, and hope advocates. These are the people where they will ensure that we'll be back in year 20 and 21 and 22 and we go forward. But I celebrate with you the remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King, his work and his legacy. And today we gather not just to remember and reflect on his life, but ask, what does his life ask of us? It's not just meant to be a day off from school or a day off from work. I had some friends in Knoxville that used to call MLK Madly Leaving Knoxville because it was a federal holiday and they had the weekend off. So one day in my advocate shoes, I had the opportunity to challenge them. You know, it is not a day off, it's a day on. It's a day for us to commit ourselves to justice, equity, and compassion. And so today, when we honor his legacy, we're not honored just to have a ceremony or to, quote his words. Dr. King was about action. And that's why he reminded us that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So MLK is not just for remembering what he did. It's about asking the question, what are you doing? And when many people hear the word advocacy, they immediately think about loud protests or marches or historic moments that we see in textbooks. And yes, advocacy can be that. But while Dr. King certainly led marches and protests and gave very powerful speeches, at the heart of his work was something far quieter, far more demanding. It was kindness paired with courage. And that question is especially relevant in this room on a college campus where people prepare to shape culture, policy, technology, and education and build community. So MLK Day is not looking backwards and celebrating what has happened and what he did do, and not just looking at it with admiration. It's about looking forward with intention. Because kindness is a form of advocacy. Dr. King believed kindness was not a weakness. He saw it as a moral force. And someone else just quoted this because he saw kindness as this: darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that, and hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And this kind of love is not passive. It doesn't stay silent in the face of injustice. Instead, it confronts wrongdoing without becoming it. Advocacy rooted in kindness means standing up for what is right while refusing to be dehumanized refusing to dehumanize others, even those who may disagree with us. It means fighting systems of injustice without surrendering our moral center. Dr. King practiced nonviolence, and many people saw that as giving up or seeing the easy way out. But nonviolence requires restraint, empathy, and strength. And I say these words with the overthought of what is happening in our country today. Nonviolence requires restraint, empathy, and strength. And when we choose kindness, we know that anger is sometimes easier. Choose to respect when being disrespectful takes courage. That is advocacy. Nonviolence and kindness are not signs of weakness. They are our deliberate choices to engage in justice without becoming shaped by it. One of Martin Luther King's greatest gifts was his ability to see people fully, especially the people who are often unseen, or those in society who we choose to ignore. Kindness begins with seeing. You know, seeing that classmate that eats alone, or somehow is not quite pulled into our group. Seeing the person whose voice is often dismissed. Seeing the harm for words that are sometimes seen, oh, that was just a joke. Dr. King warned us, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We will remember sitting at the table with you when you refused to speak up. Advocacy is an everyday occurrence. It's a choice that you can choose on every day. And you know, it's easy to admire Dr. King. He did wonderful things. Most people, when you ask about Dr. King, they want to give you, the I Have a Dream speech. I encourage you to read Letters from a Birmingham Jail. If you want to know the heart and soul of Martin Luther, the King, read Letters from a Birmingham Jail. Everybody has it at their disposal. You can Google it on your phone. Dr. King believed that all of us could achieve greatness too. Maybe not as great as he is, but we can be great in our own circle, in our own community, and that's where it is most important. Because after all, are we not trying to build the beloved community? And service doesn't always look like something big. Sometimes it looks like standing up for someone who's being excluded, or listening when someone shares a different opinion, correcting misinformation. Sometimes we hear people spout off about things that we know are wrong, but we let them get away with it because it's uncomfortable to correct misinformation, and to choose empathy over judgment. These small acts, repeated over time, create real change. Courageous kindness requires discomfort. It was uncomfortable for me to confront my friends that I work with when they were celebrating leaving Knoxville on MLK, and I knew what the people that I was engaged with, we were getting ready for the Saturday for the children's essays and for our teacher preparation, and on Sunday, culture and the arts, and on Monday, when we would have the MLK parade, and then we would have our program speakers such as this. Our weekend was full of activities that meant something to us. And it was uncomfortable, and I speak from experience by saying whether or not they ever said it, whether or not my saying that to them stopped them from doing it, I can't be sure. But I will tell you that they never referred to MLK weekend again as madly leaving Knoxville. We can make little changes. Dr. King also reminded us of this, that sometimes in our efforts to be an advocate, we're timid. We are fearful. But what he reminds us is faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. So I had no idea how that was going to affect some friendships, but I stepped out on it anyway. So even though it's awkward, it might be unpopular, and even when you're unsure how others might respond, kindness doesn't mean to avoid conflict. It means addressing it with integrity. And as I mentioned, kindness is also an action word. Listening is an act of kindness. Dr. King was a powerful speaker, but he also was a tremendous listener. He listened to the pain and hopes of people whose voices had been ignored, like the sanitation workers in Memphis. He believed that understanding others was essential to understand injustice. He said, I believe the unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. So listening, truly listening, is an act of kindness. It also requires humility. It requires us to accept that our experience is not the only one that matters. We have to choose love now in a divided world. Dr. King lived in a time of deep divisiveness, one might say, a lot like today. But yet he refused to let hate define his response. But he also understood the cost of hate, because he said often hate is too great a burden to bear. Choosing kindness isn't always easy, but it is always powerful. You remember kindness. You remember small acts of kindness. And advocacy grounded in kindness seeks to heal and not to harm. It builds bridges instead of walls. This doesn't mean that we don't have hard conversation. It means, again, that we enter those conversations listening, empathetic, and with integrity. Dr. King's dream was not meant to stay in a history book. It was meant to live through us. And it lives on through us when we choose courage over comfort, kindness with intention, and when we understand that advocacy is not about winning arguments, it's about uplifting people. So today, as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., let us move beyond just this admiration for Dr. King. Let's move from admiration to responsibility. Let's advocate with courage and with kindness. Let's speak truth without cruelty. Let's pursue justice without losing our own humanity. And let's keep asking Dr. King's question, not just today, but every day. The question, I remind you, is life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you and you and you and you and you? What are you doing for others? Because the most meaningful way for us to honor Dr. King is not just to quote his words, but to live them. Thank you.